Welcome back to this Let's Play of The Last Remnant. Last time we sided with Ophelia for a third time in doing the quests here in Melfina, and so we get access to At Hatred's End. This is probably, well, I don't know, the easiest of the quests to miss, but it's certainly not the easiest one to find, because you do have to consistently side with Ophelia. You don't have to do this for the quest which requires that you do all of the other quests, called Things Unchangeable, and to do that quest on the Xbox 360 version you had to do this quest, which meant you had to side with Ophelia. In the PC version you can side with either, but the final boss has various forms depending on sort of how much of the game you've completed, and it's sort of a dynamic difficulty-esque decision, I guess. And I don't know whether or not completing this quest has an effect on it, because if you haven't done, if you side with Roberto, you won't actually have completed all of the quests. You will only have completed enough quests to get to Things Unchangeable. Presumably you can side with Roberto and still get the ultimate version, well, the penultimate version of the last boss. To get the really ultimate version of the last boss, you have to play through the game again on a New Game Plus in hard mode, and from there do all the quests, get Things Unchangeable, and then go through. But New Games Plus in this game can actually be fairly easy, even on hard mode, because you can essentially set yourself up with all of the useful formations and equipment. Well, not all of the useful equipment. You can keep your components, but you don't keep I believe you don't keep the finished equipment. So you just have to import yourself all of the pieces you need to make stuff rather than the stuff itself. Anyway, here's Ophelia. Let's get on with this quest. We can't actually completely explore this area because of the cutscenes. And that's a trick they use rather often, where it's sort of, if you go back to an area after fighting, doing the quests there, then this is a new section of Newmore Mine. I don't know. It's possible that you can only actually get to this section of Newmore Mine if you do this quest. There may be another quest later that takes you here. I can't remember. And this guy's not super hard, but I'm gonna, go through the trouble of getting rid of all the escort groups as well. We'll want to fight these kinds of enemies eventually, and so I want to have the things that they drop. Ophelia is here as a guest union, and she's pretty bad, frankly. There's only one of her, and she doesn't do very much damage. She doesn't have a whole lot of hit points. But, this is nowhere near as hard as the last fight we went through, so. You're probably noticing the Mystic attacks against single targets don't do very good damage. Mystic attacks are all about fighting large groups of enemies. I guess I'm just going to have everybody break off and resurrect that group rather than... But Mystic attacks can be quite devastating when it comes down to it. The invocations, the first set that many of your characters are stuck with, you don't start seeing essentially anything useful out of them until very, I think Caustic Blast is probably the first one that's really effective. Oh, he decided not to self-destruct. Interesting. Caustic Blast will also hit multiple enemy unions, and actually the first time I played through this game, I decided to try and play it blind. I actually had to stop and restart because I had essentially not gained any stats whatsoever and had hit 40 battle rank, and I was barely started with the game. I did a lot of grinding while we had each of David's guest unions, which doesn't really get me. But at any rate, Rush had learned Caustic Blast, and I was just blowing away enemies right and left, until until I got bosses, and then the bosses just ate me alive. Because if you have single strong enemies, Caustic Blast doesn't work. We'll get Caustic Blast soon enough. Well, maybe not. We don't really have that many people using evocations that much. David and Kermit are the only ones.
I feel stronger than before!
So this is who I am.
I feel stronger than I did before.
And we get a bunch of random garbage. I don't know. I was kind of hoping that they would drop something that somebody needed, but... And, you know, I think we're supposed to feel sorry for the enemies. And more or less, Ophelia's zeal for justice has screwed the country. Oh well. And, you know, she gives up being a knight and gives you this sword. Unfortunately, the sword is a key item. It's not actually a piece of equipment. And it's really just sort of a trophy that you did a really pointless quest. Oh well. That's it for this episode.